How did I beat you?
You're too fast.
Do you believe that my being stronger or faster has anything to do with my muscles in this place? You think that's air you're breathing now? Again.
Hello, my friends. So, do you think it's air you're breathing now? No, it's not. But it feels that way, because if you don't get it, you you will go to the end of this reality, right? All right. So, it's after 10 at night here, and this video probably will last an hour. It's one of the longest video I'm making, which is not live video. And it's one of the most significant videos I think I ever made. And I am sure you will not fall asleep, and I'm sure I will not fall asleep. So, I promised last Sunday on the live that I'll have that video posted right away, but it didn't work out that way. This video is very, very, very deep and heavy. And I really had to work the whole week on it still, even though I thought it was almost finished then. But here we are. So, you will need to absorb really, really a lot of material here. So I suggest you clear your mind of all the pendulums or whatever is in there and focus here. What is the bottom line? I started this channel really through the reality transurfing. I used it as an entry point. And I think that most of the talking I do is about reality, how to change it, how to move it, how to shift it, how to jump out of it, come back into it, and so on and so on. And, all those books, Reality Transurfing, Neville Goddard, and dozens others, they basically all talk about how to change your reality using yourself. So today I'm actually going to show you how to do it. And it's really not... I think it's totally original, like it's not in any of those books. But since the purpose is to change reality, it doesn't really matter. I guess all you care about is the bottom line, and so do I. You may have to cross some T's by yourself, just because it's everything in this world is personality. Personality is a factor in it. But I think it's quite universal. So I'm not coming here and telling you, look, you need to have this personality of a spider or a frog to be able to do it. No, that's not the case. Just that you may have to customize it and work at it a little bit, okay? So I kind of divided this video. Originally, I was going to make two videos, part 1 and part 2, but I didn't want to play these games because it would look like I'm trying to postpone and don't want to talk about the topic itself. So that's why it became so long. But the first part is really not related to manifesting. It's more about why manifesting works. Because I think if you don't understand why manifesting works, then it's not going to work for you. You have to understand why you have that power. Like I always say, the why is more important than the how. The how comes after the why. Because if you don't know the why, then you cannot understand the how. So, there is this saying about the butterfly effect, right? That he flaps its wings in China. There's a nice butterfly here. And then you can feel the effects, or it causes a tornado and a hurricane, on the other side of the world. So what is the reason for that? The reason for that is that all is one. So I would give the first part of the video the title of All is One. And what I mean by that, and I will really reinforce it, I'm not going to just leave it as a cliche. You know, I will start with something very interesting. Those are all observations of mine, okay? You know, I do face reading, right? And I've done it for many years. And what does it mean, face reading? What do you actually do? You take something that's internal, but projects itself externally on the face, right? Because the personality is internal. If you look at somebody, you know, they have a personality. Supposedly, you're not supposed to see it. It's internal. It's built into the system, right, of that person. But yet, when I look at the face, I can see every component of the character of that person. So how does that happen? The reason that happens is because the outside of the face, the face of the person is actually a reflection of what's inside, because it's all one, right? Now let's go to another phenomenon, you know, astrology. You know, in astrology, we basically, what happens in astrology, see, the top one is the face reading and the bottom one is the astrology, right? So in astrology, we have the face, which is the stars, right? The universe, when you look at it, that's the face of, call it, of the collective consciousness, of reality, of everything there is. So what's inside? Inside is basically the consciousness of all of us and the consciousness of God. And it's reflected in the stars. It's reflected in many other things, but it's reflected in the stars. So people that look at the stars and tell you what's happening in the world, they actually do a sensible thing. It's exactly equivalent to me looking at the face and telling you what the character of the person is. Okay? And that's a very, very powerful analogy that I'm making here, and you will grasp it as we move on. Go back to myself here. Is that both of these things indicate that it's all one. Same as the face and the character are one, and the character projects itself on the face, then the universe is also all one, and it projects itself through the stars. And it could project itself through other things too, same as the character can. Like, I can look at somebody walking from behind, and by the way they walk, I can tell you 80% of what I can tell by looking at the face. So it projects basically everywhere. And so does the universe. The consciousness in the universe projects itself through many things. But the stars are more the most obvious ones, and that's why we have this thing called astrology. Okay? Now, here is a list, and I gave you that list on Sunday, but again, if you didn't see the Sunday live, it doesn't matter if you are new here or you watch this for the first one, because everything is here. There's nothing missing. You don't need any other video to understand this one. So here is a list of some phenomena that are caused because everything is one, even though it doesn't look that way when you look at each one separately. But now it will make sense to you. And it could only exist, any of those phenomena, because everything is one. Okay? So let's look, for example, at placebo. Why does placebo work? Placebo works because your consciousness, which controls basically your reality, when it is made to believe that this placebo is actually the real thing, it changes the reality. It's not that your mind influences the body. That's not the case. It actually works through the collective consciousness and creates a reality that's based on that placebo, because your consciousness accepted that as a fact. Okay? Look at another one, evil eye. I talked about it some other time, right? Why does it work? And it works. When people come and say, oh, this is so nice, I wish I had that, they actually can curse you in such a way that you will get hit with something. Okay? And the reason that works is for the same reason. Another one, which I showed in my video of the 4 boundaries, is that when you have a good thought about somebody and you think some really positive things, they feel it. So if your boss is nasty to you and you sit down and you focus and you really say, hey, listen, he or she is a really good person. They just, for whatever reason, they do this, but they are really amazing people. They're very smart and I really like them. And you go to work tomorrow and the boss is going to change his attitude completely. Why does that happen? For the same reason. Ancient ceremonies, when people were dancing and screaming and doing stuff like that and changing reality then, same thing. Ayahuasca, manifesting, which we are talking about, can only happen because of that, because everything is one. Otherwise, it couldn't happen. Healing. And here is really a good one. And I'll show you a short video here because, again, this is all my obviously subjective opinions. I always make that disclaimer. It's for you to decide. But I don't believe, for example, that memory resides here. I think you only get an address like in a computer where that memory is and you access it, okay, it sits somewhere else. It sits, in the collective consciousness. And I'll show you something here that's totally fascinating, okay? Watch this video, it's only 2 minutes. I think that, and I will explain why I'm showing it to you after, okay? So, here we go. Oh, you can actually see me here, I forgot. I'm relaxing. Oh, this is not going in the right order. Okay. I'm sorry. It was not going in the right order. That's okay. So, I will show you those other pictures later. They are part of this presentation as well. Just that they jumped ahead of their time. So, you see, this person is autistic, and he can remember just by flying over New York City or London on a 30-minute flight on a helicopter, he draws the whole thing with the pigeons and every single detail. And, again, the way science or medicine explains that, say, oh, he's got this amazing memory. No, he doesn't have an amazing memory. Just because he's autistic, the structure he's built is different. And he has access to the memory which resides outside of us. He has much, much better access than other people. And that's why he can do it. It's not because he remembers that stuff. Again, I don't have time here, but there was an experiment many years ago in the 50s where a psychiatrist took a rat and started to cut out his memory after teaching the rat how to run in a maze. And after he took all his memory, where supposedly the memory was, the rat still dragged itself and went through the maze. You can probably find that one. It's a famous experiment. So I will show you again this happened here. There we go. Just give me a second. Okay. I will show you again this one here, that all is one, because I really want to enforce it in you. It's very important that you understand that. Because all those phenomena and everything that happens here is because all is one. Okay, so that was, like I said, actually the first part of that video. And what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to make a statement that everything, and I mean everything. Okay, I'm having some technical issues here. Okay, just 1 second. All right. So everything you know, and even things that the Bible says, Old Testament, New Testament, I'm going to actually contradict them. And I think it will make sense to you. Okay? So let's start with this. Nothing, absolutely nothing, is predicted. Okay? Predictions cannot be made except in very specific cases where a plan, say like the 9/11 plan, was already mature in the people that planned it, and it got to such a point, which is a point of no return, so that reality can tell that this will be executed. Because they brought it to a point where the other side that was supposed to protect against it was not ready, didn't know about it, and in their mind they had everything planned out. So if somebody could see the whole picture, which reality can, then they could see that this will go ahead. This kind of a thing can be predicted, but nothing beyond that. Okay? Only if it's already a done deal at the point of no return in people's mind, then it can be predicted. So what I'm saying really is that every prediction, including all the prophecies in the Bible, okay, they are not prediction. They are actually a creation of reality. They created that reality, okay, by saying the things in the way that I'll show you how it works, okay? And I showed that switch. Now I can show it to you. So basically, when that switch, okay, that out, when this switch, okay, that's again not. When this switch, if you can put it on to that green zone, then you can manifest anything you want. Everything you say will happen, okay? And this is what this video is all about, is how to put the switch up there. So those predictions, those prophecies in the Bible are actually done by people that have that switch on. And I'll give you some examples. Even you don't need the switch for that. I mean, you don't need to go that far. God to Abraham, and this is in Genesis, okay? Then God said, yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. Okay? So, is that a prophecy? It's not a prophecy. It's something that God says that he will do, right? He doesn't say this will happen because it's supposed to happen. So it's a tricky thing, because you can look at it, that how religion interprets all these things is that, yes, God knows that this is going to happen. No, God actually is going to make it happen. And I brought God in on purpose here rather than a prophet. I'll do it with a prophet as well a little bit later. But I want you to get that point, that this is not a prophecy. This is actually reality creation. And by God, you may say, well, that's not a big deal, because God can create any reality. But we will also see that prophet do the same thing, right? Like, I'll give you another one, right? He says to your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offsprings. Yeah, and also in Genesis, God says to Abraham. He says that because he's going to make it. Okay? Now, keep in mind that all the prophets in the Bible, now I'm talking about Old Testament, they come from God. Like all those prophets, the real ones that we know, Isaiah, Yechezkel, Jeremiah, they all got their prophecies from God. God told them, go and tell the people A, B, C, D, this is what, I'm going to destroy this is what's going to happen. You will be deported from your country, and so on. It's not prophecy. They just made that happen. By saying it, they were so empowered by God saying that this is what will happen, that it did happen. So in this case, it's not God didn't do it. God did it through them, because God empowered humans to control this world. Like I said before, if you look outside, you go outside on the street or anywhere you go, you'll see that everything that exists was created by humans, because God empowered them to create whatever they like. It's just that He never told them that. And we'll touch on that down the video here. But, what the prophets actually did, they just said what God told them. And because God told them and they said it, their switch was actually in the green zone. It happened. Okay, it's may sound very strange, but I think that as you think about it, it will make lots of sense to you. The word prophecy in Hebrew, because that's where it comes from originally, right, is nevuah. Nevuah is prophecy. But it doesn't say anywhere, except in modern dictionaries, what it means. Nobody is to say that nevuah actually means that they predicted. Nevuah may mean also that they actually create that reality. It's just that we took it that way, because we didn't believe they can create that reality. So we said, nevuah means prediction, means prophecy. But no, it doesn't say anywhere that that's what it means. Okay? Because the Bible came before. So how people interpret it is how people interpret it, but it's not necessarily that way, because it's just an assumption. And there are actually two main logical reasons why predictions cannot be made in this reality. Okay? Number one, as we all know, in the quantum physics, quantum mechanics, everything is unpredictable. It's the uncertainty principle. This is what this whole reality is based on. So if that's the case, how can you predict something? And the second one is, if you listen to my videos, I always say why God created this reality. God created this reality to have experiences. So if God knew what's going to happen, then He wouldn't need this reality. We would disappear. This is unnecessary. Like, why does He need this for us to create any reality if He knows what's going to happen? It doesn't make any sense, does it? Yeah, and like I said before, God gave us the control, and that's why He has those prophets, because the prophets actually make it happen. He doesn't want to make it happen. That's not like He can create any reality He wants, but He doesn't. Because that's not how the game works. I'll give you an example, a real example. Again, I may have already said that, told that story before, but doesn't matter. So, I was in Israel, and there was a reunion of a military unit that didn't see each other for 30 years. And one of the people that was there is a psychic. He's a very, very powerful psychic. I actually traveled with him to Turkey, and he did some crazy things there with the local people. But he's not necessarily a wise man, okay? And he was a driver in that unit. And one of the officers, I think it's a major, that was his commanding officer, he joked with him at that party, the reunion party. He told him, Shauli, next time, we have a reunion, you're going to be dead. Because 30 years passed, and now this guy is 60 or 55. And the psychic guy, his name was Shauli, he didn't take it very well, because he knows that words are actually reality. Thoughts are things, right? So he answered back to that officer, and he said to him, you know what? In 30 days, you will be dead, and I'll be, I'll put flowers on your grave. And that person died exactly 30 days later to the hour. And this is a real story. I saw it, okay? So at the time, I asked, did he predict it or did he cause it? But now I know he caused it. He didn't predict it. If that incident didn't happen, that person would not die. He had a heart attack. So, the way this reality was designed is for us not to realize that we have that power, but once in a while, it happens. But because of the uncertainty principle, we don't really know. Did we predict it or did it actually we caused it, right? And you have to also realize that the whole Bible, again, I'm talking Old Testament, I'm talking most about the Torah. The Torah is all about rules. The 5 books of Moses are mostly about rules. There is 613 commandments in there, of which 10 are the main ones, the 10 commandments that everybody knows, but there is 613, and it's all about ethics and behavior and do not go to the psychics. If anybody goes to the psychics, he should be killed. Now, think about it. What's the reason for it? Right? And it has all these kind of things. It's a very, very powerful system to put you in some kind of a box with limits so that you don't abuse that ability to create reality, which you have 100%. This is the main purpose of the whole Bible, the Torah, is just that. Because if you give somebody, if you sit somebody all of a sudden in front of the controls in a 747 jumbo jet flying, and they don't know how to fly it, guess what will happen? And this is what God did with us. He set us in front of that thing, so he needed to teach us how to fly the thing, right? So we don't crash. And this is what the commandments are all about. This is what the Torah was for. Okay, not for any other reason. Never mind what the religions tell you. And you know that I talked in a number of my videos about the ratio of characters. And what I mean by that is that in this world, in this reality, the number of humans changes, right? It always grows. Maybe it was, a few thousand, and now we're 7.8 billion. But one thing doesn't change. It's the ratio of the characters. And what I mean by that is it's the percentage of each type of character. Okay, so if there is 2% really very bad people like Hitler, that never changes. There was 2% from the beginning, and it's 2% still today. And if there is 7% of people like Mother Teresa or something, like really good people, that ratio stays. And that's exactly for that reason. Because we create the reality. If that ratio changes, guess what will happen? The balance will basically fall apart in the whole reality. And that's why that ratio is there. All right. So how do we now going to find out how to create that reality, even though we have that power, right? We are in the jumbo jet now, but show us which button we have to press to land. So I'll show you that. I will start from the end, and I'll show you now this one switch here. It's a different switch, and it's really the key to the whole thing. No, I didn't insert myself in the picture here, but I will explain what happens here. So you see, I marked it in red. This switch can be only in one of two positions. It cannot be anywhere in between. Okay, it's called a double pole or a dual pole switch or two-position switch. You have those sometimes in the house. If you flip it that way, that light goes there, and if you flip it that way, another light goes on. But it cannot be in between. Okay? And what happens with you and me and everybody else, we can either be in like inside focus with things that are related to us, okay? Selfish kind of thinking, anything that's related to us. Or we can be on an outside focus, and I also wrote there for reality transurfing, that's inner intention and outer intention, okay? When we are on an outside focus, like if you are really focused on somebody else completely, not on yourself, and you don't have any emotions in it, okay, then that other switch is actually, okay? And when it is in that green zone, you can say something and it will happen. And I will give you some examples how that worked for me and why it's like more than 10 years that I'm working to find out what is it, what are the components that when I did succeed to do it, it happened. Because you don't remember all the different parameters at that time. And many of you actually reached out to me and told me about cases when that worked for you. And I also collected all that information and filled in all the blanks, or most of the blanks, with that information, okay? The trick, the main trick here, and it is very, very, very tricky, is that you must disconnect yourself. You must disconnect yourself from yourself. And why is that tricky? Because you still have to remember what you wanted. So there is the main obstacle to do it. Like, for example, did you ever hear a prophet or read about a prophet in any of the Bibles that said, oh, I am going to do this, or I am going to be this, or no, because it won't work. That switch doesn't work when you talk about yourself. It only works if you insert yourself in there while not thinking about yourself, okay? You basically must act as if nothing of what you're going to say depends or depends on you, or nothing that you are going to say or ask or try to manifest will have any effect on you. Like, because as soon as you have that feeling, then, like reality transurfing says, the importance section, the part comes and it doesn't work. Because as soon as you put importance on what you try to manifest, if it's important to you, it's not working. Okay? And I'll give you some. I had about 10 of those experiences where I actually said something and it happened. And I'll give you 2 of them, which are quite significant. And one of them actually, somebody who is listening right now to the video as well, she was involved in it. So the first one, and I said there was like 10 of them. I'm not going to tell you all 10. I'll just pick 2 random, okay? I was in Jerusalem a few years ago, and it was July. It was extremely hot. This is Israel, it's very hot. And I said, I just threw it kind of in the air. I said, well, I wish there was rain. And within like an hour, there was rain. And it never rains in July in Israel or in Jerusalem, okay? Another one was where this person that I was talking about, she called me from Australia a few years ago in the Australian summer, and there was terrible fires there. And I think they had drought for some years. And she said, like, she believes that I can actually do it. She said, can you do something about it? And I just said, not only will you get rain, you will get floods. And I think within a week, on 10 days, this is what happened. And there were many like that, okay? And by the way, Pharaoh built the pyramids with the same concept. Problem is that most of us are focused on some pendulum. And it's very hard for us to pull back into the big picture and stay kind of neutral, not to get attached to things. was going to tell you, oh, yeah, I know what I wanted to tell you. Give you some example from a different angle. Again, it's things that I talked about in my very early videos. You know, when I had, for example, an incident where my car got out of control, driving really fast on ice on a highway, and the car actually turned 180 degrees, and I was going roughly at 100 kilometers an hour backwards. And on both sides of the road, one side was trucks, and the other side was like a cliff. And I was going backwards at 100 kilometers an hour with another person, so I have a witness. And at that stage, I disconnected myself from reality. Like I felt like I'm an observer, like I'm not part of what's happening there, and I wasn't scared or like I had no emotion about it. And obviously, I'm here, I am alive. Because if I was in any way giving any importance to what was happening there, I would be dead. So that's a way of manifesting too, okay? Keep that in mind. I had the same incident 2 years ago. No, actually, it's more than 2 years. 3 years ago here with a cougar. You know, I was walking up the mountain in the evening. Was nobody there. And out of the blue, you know, I was kind of dreaming. A cougar was sitting in front of me and just looking at me. Like a really big one. And, you know, in a case like that, there's only two choices. Either the cougar walks back or I walk back. There's nothing in between. You know, and we're not going to stay there forever, right? And I got into the same kind of a mood. So what happened is that somebody flipped that switch for me up. I got disconnected from reality. And, you know, I looked at the cougar in the eye and I screamed at it. I shouted at it. And he turned around and he walked away. But I think if I gave it any importance and I was involved in any way emotionally, I probably wouldn't be here, or I would be here but look a little bit different, right? So, and I want to give you another one, which is very, very, very powerful. And it's from the Bible. And you can always go and refer to it. It's a very, very famous story in the Old Testament. Actually, it's in the Torah. And many of you, if you went to, I guess, Christianity, studies the same Bible as well, so you probably know about it. And what it is, it's the story there about Balak and Balaam. And what happened there was the Israelites were approaching Israel, and on the way in the desert, they were passing different nations, countries, like people that were living there. And one of those nations, the king's name was Balak, and he heard all the stories, all the miracles that happened to the Israelites on the way, and he was really, really scared. He didn't want them to take over his kingdom and destroy him, right? So he knew this other person called Balaam, which was a prophet, magician, and he was actually connected to the Israeli God. Like, it's very hard to explain how that happened. Even the rabbis that study Torah, they said that he was more powerful than Moses. And what happened there, Balak sent emissaries to that Balaam guy, which lived on his own somewhere, I guess, far away from that nation. And he asked him, he said, I want you to, I'll give you anything you want, like any money, gold, whatever you like. I want you to come over here and I'll take you on a mountain and you will look at these people and I want you to curse them, because I know that if you curse somebody, it always works. And if you bless somebody, it always works. So I need you to curse those, because otherwise I cannot win them. And Balaam said to his emissaries, he said, you guys stay here overnight and I will ask God. I guess he was talking to God in his dream or somehow. I'll ask Jehovah, which is the Jewish God, the Israeli God. I'll ask him if I can do that. So they stayed overnight and he told them, I'm sorry, God told me that I cannot do it, because they are blessed. I cannot curse them. Well, they left, and then the king Balak, he insisted, and he sent like higher level ministers and emissaries, and he asked, come again, I'll give you again everything. And again, the same story, told them stay overnight. And then God said to him, you know what, you go, but I will tell you what to say. And then he went there, and obviously, he started blessing the Israelites. And Balak, the king, got really pissed off. And he basically told him, get lost, go back to your place. But what I want to show you is that he had the power, and even God didn't allow him to curse them because he knew that if he does that, it will get executed because he would create that reality. This Balaam guy had the ability to flip that switch up, and whatever he said happened, even if it went against God. Okay, that's why God told him, be very careful, and it's only say what I'm telling you. And this is written in the Torah. Like, I'm not inventing this. Another thing is that psychics, when they actually can tell you things, this is when that switch for them is up. So they tell you things, and if a psychic tells you, again, like that Shauli guy, if he tells you something, it's not because he's not predicting it. He's actually making it happen for you. So think twice before you go and see a psychic. And it doesn't matter. People say, it happens because you believe in it. And no, it doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. You can block it in some ways, but generally they can create a reality for you. All right. So I will repeat it again. What you have to do is you have to be in a situation where whatever you're going to say is not important to you. Usually the best is if it just comes like intuitively from you without you thinking about it in advance. And this is where the catch is, because if you want something, but there are ways you have to just come out of nowhere when you are like not attached to it, not thinking about it, and just say something. Like I'm going to say right now, you guys are all going to be super happy after you see this video. Okay? I didn't think about it before, nothing. I just said it. And you know what? It will happen. So, it's 11 o'clock here. It's time for me to start working on the tomorrow live video. So I will say, let's see if there is any other pictures or videos that I wanted to show you. Oh yeah, there is the picture of Balaam and Balak. I almost missed it. You see? This is the Israelites at the bottom, and he blessed them, and some very powerful blessings. And there is the king. All right. So, you all have a great weekend. We are still in the weekend here, and I'm sure most of you are. Maybe in Australia it's already Sunday, but it's still the weekend. So I wish you all the best, as usual. And I hope to see you tomorrow at the live. Obviously, if you watch this video after tomorrow, then this is not going to happen. And that's it. I expect you to send me lots of questions on YouTube or any other way. I have probably more information that I didn't remember to mention here. So if you ask specifically, I will answer. And there is people in our group here, like May, that are very, very knowledgeable in these things, and they have their own input, which is very, very useful as well. So, you can exchange information at the bottom here at YouTube. And I will see you in the next video, which probably I'll have to expand on this based on your questions. So all the best. And good night to me, but whatever it is for you, good day, good evening, good morning. I will see you soon. Bye.